Hey, everybody. So I posted on social media the other day that the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was coming back on television on Disney Plus, and that I was looking forward to the residual check. And people were asking what the story was. So here it is. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was my first television gig. I worked on it in 1992, I think it was, and it was a huge employer for people here in the Mid-Atlantic, especially. I think everybody I knew that was in the business and had been in the business long enough booked something on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So that's where I cut my teeth. And I'm in an episode called The Mystery of the Blues, and I play, I think, a coroner's assistant. And it is not, I'm sure, a good performance. I haven't seen it in a couple decades, but I'm sure if I watched it, I would go, too much energy, Keith, and enthusiasm, and that does not a character or performance make in this case. But, I'm in the coroner's office. A cub reporter comes in, wants the scoop on the story, and I whip out the murder scene photos, and it ends with me saying something snarky like, I don't read the papers, to the reporter. But that was the scene. And I cut my teeth on that. And but I did not get my SAG card on that show. I got my SAG card about 6 months earlier. I will come back to that. A little inside piece of info. If you go watch my scene in this episode, first of all, again, be kind. I was a very young actor at the time. But there's a moment where the camera cuts away to the photos on the table. And I had rapped before they shot that. So they apparently needed another pair of hands. And so they've got these big, meaty hands, like gesturing to the papers like this. And my hands, well, not anymore, but at the time, I had very slender, girly fingers. I had very nimble little digits. And so when I watched it, I went, what? What are those meat paws? So it's this weird bit of continuity, if you know me, or in discontinuity, I suppose, if you know me. But what was interesting was I was shooting an episode 2018 of Good Behavior down in Wilmington. And it was the first time I had been back in Wilmington in a very long time. And I was talking to a lot of the crew people that I knew. And the director noticed my camaraderie, and she said, "Oh, have you worked here in Wilmington a lot?" And I said, "Well," and I told this story about my very first gig. In fact, was the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and and the Meat Paws, and from over my shoulder, I hear this voice say, "Those were mine." I turned around and went, "What?" He said, "Yeah, those were my hands. It was my chance to be on television. They used my hands." And so we have this picture of the two of us that I took on that set, holding our hands up. And shame on me, I do not remember the gentleman's name, and I should. But that was nice to bring that thing full circle. So that's my memory about the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. I got my SAG card, like I said, about 6 months earlier on a piece of shit movie for CBN called Touching the Supernatural. That was so bad. It was so bad that when Pat Robertson saw it, he said, "Oh, no. Bury this in the deepest grave you can find. I do not want anyone to find it." That was maybe more Bill Clinton than Pat Robertson, but same thing. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And I played a youth church leader who took his kids' class out to a graveyard in the middle of the night to tell them a story of an RA he knew who had 2 female students on her floor that played with a Ouija board, and Satan came through a mystical door in their room and confronted them. And you know what? It was a gig, and I got full scale for it, and I got my SAG eligibility for it. And CBN, no matter what we may say about them now, they were a legitimate source of work for us as actors at the time. So some things you're proud of, some you're just glad they disappear into obscurity. Ta-ta. Ba 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 ba.
Everyone's got a tale, changing scripts, wins and fails. What we've learned, what we've lost, all become the sum of us. Beautiful traveler, superfluous. century right. Turn the page, it's a new day in our story. In our story. Whoa, 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 whoa. In our story.